Welcome to my YouTube channel, especially to Political Thinkers series. And in this video, we're going to discuss Plato, his theory of ideal state.
Plato's views on ideal state, justice, communism, and education has been written in his masterpiece, The Republic. Plato argued that individual human beings are not self-sufficient. They cannot work alone to get all the necessities of life. In order to resolve these difficulties, they came together into communities for the mutual achievement of common goals. In his book, The Republic, he examined the relationship between individual and state. He said that state is highest manifestation of human virtue. There is a close affinity between the individual and the state. As Plato remarks, state does not come out of an oak or a rock, but from the character of men dwelling therein. And this formed the foundation of his theory of the state. Plato felt that the separation of functions and specialization of labor are necessary to constitute a worthwhile society and the state. According to Plato, an ideal state is not a state without classes or so-called castes. Instead, an ideal state should consist of three classes, that is, a philosopher king, a soldier, and common people. All three classes were expected to perform proper functions for the working of the society. He felt that these three classes should possess certain qualities or virtue. The philosopher king must have virtue of wisdom, the capacity to comprehend reality and make impartial judgment about it, because they are responsible for making decisions according to which the entire city will be governed. The philosopher king called men of gold. Soldiers, on the other hand, need to have the virtue of courage, the willingness to carry out the ruler's orders in the face of danger without regard for the personal risk, because they are charged with the defense of the city against the external as well as internal enemies. They are called the men of silver. The rest of the people in the city must follow its leader instead of pursuing their private interests, so that they exhibit the virtue of moderation, the subordination of personal desires to the highest purpose. They are men of iron and brasses. Plato gives a different picture or a different idea about justice. He says justice is not the responsibility of any one class of citizen. When all three classes, that is king, soldier, and common people, perform their own role appropriately and try not to take over the functions of any other class, the entire city will be operating with the harmony and justice. Plato believed that people also show the same features and perform same functions and embody the same virtue that city-states do. Plato says just like people have physical bodies, states have land, building, etc. According to Plato, human beings have three souls, that is rational soul, spirited soul, and finally appetitive soul. Rational soul is the mind or intellect, is the thinking portion within each of us, which understand what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is false, makes a rational decision in accordance with which the human life is properly lived. Spirited soul, on the other hand, is the active portion. Its function is to carry out the dictates of reason in practical life, courageously doing whatever the intellect has determined to be the best. Finally, the appetitive soul, that is emotion or desire, is the portion that wants and feels many things, most of which must be deferred in the face of rational pursuits. Plato says when these three souls in the human beings is properly performed, human being will be the ideal and happy. Just like an happy man or an ideal person, for a state to become ideal state or a happy state, it also needs three classes, that is philosopher king, who can be compared to rational soul, and second one is the soldier, who can be compared to the spirited soul, and third one is the general public, who can be compared to the appetitive soul. According to Plato, two guardians, that is philosopher king and soldiers, must get proper education. His plan for the elementary education of guardians appeared in book 3. Its central concern is an emphasis on achieving the balance of many disparate components, that is physical training and musical performance, along with the basic intellectual development. For Plato, it was vital for a society to exercise a strict control over the content, everything that children read and heard. Their performance in the education should determine as to whether they can become guardian or not. So appropriate training should be provided to uphold the appropriate skills of individuals. The peculiar thing in the Plato's ideal state is communism of wives and property. According to Plato, the guardians, that is philosopher king and soldiers, should not allow to marry, because Plato wanted them free from the cares of family and private property. They should devote themselves for the acquisition of knowledge and affairs of the state. But working class was allowed to marry and they can have private property and family life. But children should be brought up by the state. Plato did not appreciate a democratic state. He stated that the happiness of all was more important than that of part, and the happiness of the state was more important than that of three classes. However, we cannot compare his state to the totalitarian states of 20th century. To Plato, the purpose of the state is the protection of noble character, and the greatness of the state is to be measured by the personal worth of their citizens. Thus, Plato designs a unique kind of state in which there is a rule of a philosopher king who would be the friend, the philosopher, and the guide, known and trained to have great wisdom. In such a state, training or education is given to everyone as per their aptitude, so that there is functional representation followed by unity and harmony.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you really like the video, give me a thumbs up, and if you have any suggestions, put it in the comment section, and subscribe to my channel. If you want to get notifications, click on the bell icon. Thank you.